Build something before verifying that somebody actually needs it. This is what many software engineers do, and I did myself many times as well. No matter what exactly you are building, is this a SaaS, consulting, coaching, or maybe an agency, you need to first make a market research before you actually go to the market and try to promote and sell it. In this video, I'll explain how you should do this, what steps you should take to actually make this research, and how can you actually make sure that you will be able to find clients that will be willing to pay for your services. After utilizing the methods that I will share in this video, you will not just know if people are willing to pay for it, you will also know what problems they have, what goals they are looking to achieve, and how exactly you can position your solution to actually make it stand out and sell it eventually. If I would do myself whatever I'm going to describe in this video 4 years ago when I just started, I would achieve success with my businesses much faster without switching niches and doing things that eventually didn't make me any results. So let's get started with the most important stuff. There are 3 ways you can actually prepare yourself for building your business. The first one and the best one is that you can talk to your actual clients while you're solving their problems, basically understanding what their problems are, what exactly is the solutions that they need, and this is actually the best way to understand what your next customer is also going to look like and if he's willing to pay for your services. If you already have a proof of concept, then definitely it is the case. But since you just started building your business, you have 2 other options. The first one that I don't really recommend, but I still want to go through it very quickly, is to just pretend to be your own client. Let's say you're a software engineer and you're targeting dentists and you want to improve their websites, their marketing, their sales, whatever. So what you can do is you can just create a new account in Google Chrome or anywhere else, just create a new email and start consuming the content that this dentist would consume. It is related to dentist stuff, maybe some other dentists, maybe guys who are targeting dentists as well. It can be on YouTube, Reddit, LinkedIn, and anywhere wherever you can watch content. So what you can do is just look at what your competitors are doing, if there are any competitors, and it's actually a good sign if there are any competitors. See what kind of content is present online, what problems do dentists share between each other, what they're talking about in the podcasts, what their stories look like, what their testimonials are, how many clients do they often get, how much they're charging those clients, or whatever else what's relevant to your specific solution. And the third way, which I'm gonna spend this entire video on, is actually doing a market research by calling and having interviews with those potential ideal clients. Because most likely there will be no enough information for you from podcasts, interviews that you'll find online, and you will not be able to test if you can actually find those clients. Because maybe you know they exist somewhere, but maybe it's not around your circle, maybe they exist in some specific community, physical community, but maybe you're not there, or maybe they just accept other dentists inside of this community. So this is why you need to do a research like this, so that you understand if you are actually able to find those clients, so that you can do the same process whenever you're gonna sell your solution and better understand what their problems are, if they're willing to pay for it, and what kind of goals they're trying to achieve. So you're just trying to mimic your actions of whatever it's gonna look like whenever you will already have your solution ready and you would want to sell it. And this is why you shouldn't sell it first and then trying to market, because maybe it will not even work out. So you should do it first at this stage right now. And how do you find those potential clients? You can do it, of course, through social media. You can do it through LinkedIn. It's very good if you can find them on LinkedIn because it's relatively easy to connect with them and then send them some DMs. But if not, you can use any other social media like Instagram, Facebook, Threads, Twitter, and maybe you can even use Google search or Google Maps. Especially if that's the case like dentists, you can find dentists on the map and you can eventually call them. And I really recommend you to call them if you have this option, because this is the easiest way to complete those market research, the easiest way to reach out to those people without waiting for their connection request, without having any limitations that social media will give you, because they may not allow you to connect or DM so many people as you want to, and they may also ban you for spamming people. So calling is the best solution if you have this option. And if you're scared to call your potential clients, that I'm sorry, but business may not be for you. Obviously, I don't want you to stop doing business, but I want you to understand that it's one of the easiest things you can do so far, because business is never going to be easy, and if it's easy for you, if it's comfortable, then you're probably doing something wrong with business. So call them, or maybe just go and switch to another niche, or just don't do business at all. And in terms of finding those clients through social media, for LinkedIn, you can use LinkedIn Sales Navigator. It's around 100-ish bucks per month, but it's definitely worth it, especially if you will just use it for just 1 month, for example, to just complete your research. And for other social media, you can just use the internal search, and you can use that same account that you use to consume content as your ideal prospect to see what kind of content is showing up in front of you and just chat with other potential clients of yours. And what do you do after you already found those potential clients? How do you actually reach out to them and how do you invite them to the interview? First, tell them that you're doing a market research or whatever your reason is. You can say that you're doing the market research because you want to build a business around that and you want to get their advice. It will really help you out if you will say that you really want to get their advice. Their ego will feel good about that and they'll be more willing to actually have a chat with you. But if you don't want to say that you're doing market research, you can use any other reason you want. You can say it's a school project, you are helping your grandma, you are helping your father with his business, you are helping your girlfriend, you are writing a book, you are a journalist and you are writing an article, whatever. Just have a clear why and preferably make it personalized for them so that they actually understand that it's relevant for them and it's not just some spam message that you are sending to everyone basically. And either in the first message, if it's something like email, you can invite them on a 15-minute chat with you, or you can chat in the chat first, also qualify them if they're actually close to your ideal potential client portrait, and after that invite them for this chat. In terms of qualifying, you can just try to get an understanding, for example, of if they're employed, if they're even willing to pay for your services, because you don't want to target people who may not have enough resources to actually invest into your solution. And just ask some other qualifying questions that are making you separate those guys who you will never be working with. And if you don't have those qualifying questions, that's fine. You can develop them later on during the process of those interviews, because you will understand that some of those guys are actually not interested in doing whatever you're trying to offer. For example, for me, during my market research for software engineers, I understood that those guys who don't have a job, they're not interested in building their personal brand. Guys who have a work visa in America are also not willing to build their own business because they're dependent on their employer, because if they don't have an employer, they can't stay in the United States. And I also understood that guys who are just trying to build their personal brand for the purpose of getting more job opportunities is also not the kind of ICP that I want to work with. ICP is ideal customer portrait. And when you're inviting those potential clients on the interview, you need to make sure that you say that it's a short call, it's a 15-minute chat, and you need to say that it's not a sales call, you're not gonna pitch them anything, you're not gonna offer them anything, it's just purely for your research, or whatever was the reasons that you described why you need to have this interview. Especially it's super important for guys who are always getting some spam messages on LinkedIn or any other social media and who are getting offers from different companies to give them some solution. This is why you should say that you're not planning to sell them anything. Because these days any mentioning of the short call basically means that you're gonna sell something. And everybody is kinda expecting you to sell something. And I'm not just saying that you need to pretend that you're not going to sell. You actually don't need to sell anything on this call. It's not a sales call, it's purely for your research. Even if you see that guy is really looking for your help, you're not gonna sell him in any way just because you sent this message. You said that you're not going to pitch him, you're not gonna sell, and you're actually not going to do this. The things that you can do, and the thing that I'm doing right now as well during my market research with software engineers, is that if I see that they're actually qualified and if they're interested in hearing about my solution, so what I'm saying to them is that after I will be done with my market research, after I will already fully confirm what my solution is gonna be like, what my offer is like, what is my pricing, then I will get back to them and we can continue this conversation and discuss if there is any interest from their side to actually work with me and get my solution. And this is what you can do as well. But first, you need to ask the specific questions to understand if they're actually your potential ideal client and if they're willing to actually invest in this and if they even need your help. So let me explain what this call is gonna be like. And also a quick tip about booking those interview calls: make sure that you're not booking those calls more than 3 days ahead. Those interviews should be within 3 days after your last chat in DMs, on the phone, or wherever you chatted. And if it's a phone call, you can consider to have this interview right away, right now, without even booking any additional calls. Okay, so what do you have to talk about on those research calls? First of all, just like in sales calls, you need to set a frame. You need to explain that in this conversation, you're just gonna ask them questions. What exactly you're gonna ask your questions about? For example, I usually say that I'm gonna ask you about your goals, about your building your personal brand, what problems, challenges you have, so that I better understand problems of software engineers when it comes to building their business and personal brand, and it will help me out out a lot, and I really appreciate your time for talking with me today. Yeah, actually appreciate your time should be the first thing you say. Then you can also ask them if that's fine if you record the transcript or video recording of this call. I usually prefer the transcript, and I recommend you to get the transcript as well. Usually everybody is 100% fine with recording the transcript because it doesn't even show their face, it doesn't show their name, it can be just any person, and it's just anonymous. And this is what you can also mention, is that this call is fully anonymous and you're not gonna share it with anyone. Then for the first set of questions, you can just do a small warm-up and ask them a few questions about their experience. How did they become a dentist? How did they even start doing it? How long they've been in this dentist industry? The reason for that is, again, because you can qualify those people eventually. Let's say if the guy you have an interview with, you'll understand that he doesn't really have any problems. Let's say he's in business for like 5 years, he knows all the modern standards, he has like the new web application and all marketing like built in with some whatever software, and he is fine with everything. So then whenever you have a new interview with another guy, you can ask him right away how long you've been in business, and then you will understand if he's like in business for 20 years, probably his software is like pretty old. And you can also check it out on his website if it's possible for you to do this, and basically save this dentist's time and don't have those research calls with guys who are not eventually qualified. Then for the second round of questions, you're asking them about their goals. You're asking what is their goal about building their business or whatever they're doing. Maybe it's a personal life problem, whatever you're trying to solve, but most likely you're going to work with businesses since you're a software engineer and you're probably going to utilize your software skills. You can ask what they're aiming for, what their ideal future looks like, why did they get into this industry, what is their goal, what is their vision, why they're doing this, what their dream life is going to look like with their business, with their life, whatever, and how it can be compared with whatever is happening today. It's exactly like a sales call. You're just trying to get their future state, their current state, and understand what is the difference between those two states and what they're not satisfied with, and how you can actually bridge this gap with your own solution. So the third set of questions is asking more about the problem, asking what they would like to change in their current business, what they're not satisfied with, why they're not satisfied with it, what they don't like about their business, what they do like about their business, what's stopping them from achieving this desired state, what is the main problems that they have right now, what is their main frustration about their business, and what do they think you need to do to get to this outcome. And basically you're asking pretty much similar questions and trying to understand their problem, trying to understand their desired state, their current state, and where your solution could be built in. And if you already have your solution in mind and you clearly can see the problem, you can also ask what exactly they would like to have help with and how much they would be willing to pay for the solution like this. It will also give you an understanding of how much you can eventually charge. And during all of those questions, you should feel free to ask more additional questions. For example, they say that they don't feel free when they're running their business. You can ask them what free actually means for them. Or maybe you can just ask why. Why? What would you like to do differently? What would you want to have different? What do you mean by that? What do you think about it? Can you tell me more about it? And just ask why as many times as you can possibly ask, so that you can actually get to the root cause of the problem and to the root of their desired state. For example, they're saying that they want to make like 2x of whatever they're making right now, and you need to ask why. What is going to happen? What's going to be different for you? Because it's not about the business. It's not that they want to make more money. It's because they want to have something different in their current life. Maybe they want to feel better. Maybe they want to be more secure. Maybe they want to support their family better. And this is the exact reason that you can eventually use in your own content whenever you're gonna target those ideal customers. You can utilize the same words that this guy is gonna explain to you now, so that you can eventually help others to actually use the words that they have in their own head. And this is why sometimes when you're watching some content, you feel like, wow, this guy exactly is like listening to my thoughts. He knows exactly what I'm thinking about. How the heck he's doing this? This is because this guy was having a ton of communication with those potential clients. He knows their problems, he maybe solves those problems, or at least he did a pretty good job with his market research. And for all of those answers, you can also say like, thank you, I really appreciate you answering this. I really love your response on that. thank you, I appreciate it. So that they feel comfortable sharing a lot of information, especially when it comes to personal information, so that you can go really deep on those calls and get real emotions here. And how many of those calls do you actually need? Ideally, you should have around 30 of those calls, but even 10 is going to be enough to start understanding where exactly you should position your solution around, what kind of problem you are solving, what your ideal ICP kind of looks like. And basically, the more calls like this you're gonna have, the better your understanding will be. But at around 30 calls mark, you'll already be pretty good with your market research, and you can switch into actually selling it if you see that it's possible to actually target this audience, if they're willing to pay for it, and if you would actually like to work with this audience. And if you're not able to get those calls, if you're not able to have those interviews, trust me, it's going to be even harder to sell to those people. So if you spend around like 30 days on doing this market research and you not got too many calls, it's most likely going to be even harder to sell to those people, because whenever they hear market research, they understand that nobody is going to sell to them. There is no pressure to get to those market research calls. This is exactly what was happening to me with my dating coaching. It was hard for me to get those market research calls, but I still got some. But whenever I switched to actually selling, it was much harder for me. So you should always consider this, and this is exactly why we're doing those market research calls, so that you don't waste your time eventually whenever you're trying to sell this solution. And what you should do after you are done with your market research, now you're gonna need to build an ideal avatar, an ideal customer profile. You need to write down what problems he have, what is his goal, what is he trying to achieve, what is holding him back. Whatever you discussed in those calls, you can just put the transcriptions of those calls into ChatGPT and ask him to build you a full avatar, full ICP of your client. Actually, ICP is already like a profile of a client. Okay, you need to ask ChatGPT to build you an ICP, ideal customer profile, so that you can reference to it whenever you're making content, whenever you're trying to understand what their goals are, who you are targeting, and what points you should look for whenever you're gonna sell them, whenever you're gonna ask them questions in the chat, on the call, and everywhere else. No matter what business you are doing, SaaS, coaching, agency, but it's definitely going to work better for agencies and coachings, because this is where you're getting sales calls. In SaaS, you don't need too many sales calls, but if you are starting with SaaS, I would actually recommend you to build an agency anyways, and just offer your SaaS as a bonus to your agency work basically. And you'll be able to charge much higher prices, improve your SaaS product itself, and then whenever you have a lot of clients, you can eventually sell it just as a SaaS at a lower price, but for much more clients. And for recording your research calls, you can use Fathom, Read AI, or Notion. This is what I use myself. And after you are done with this research, you are good to go with your business, and I wish you good luck. And if you're not sure what steps you need to take next, connect with me on LinkedIn, and I'm gonna give you a brief overview of what you should do on each step of your journey, and may provide you with a few tips. And you can also feel free to check out my full story in the description of this video if you are interested in why the heck I'm doing what I'm doing. And I wish you good luck with your business. See you.